Yes, we are now
Is
actionable.
this number one?
This is one.
Or at least of the interview?
This is one.
Number one interview state?
Yes. It had to
Or
be you.
conversation?
It had to be you. Why did it have to be you?
I have no idea. It was
You-
your decision.
You made the design.
I did.
You made the design.
Yeah.
What does the design mean to you? Well, how did you make that design? Not necessarily what you were doing when you made that design, but when you make something like that, there's a lot of context.
Yes.
So the image of the man reaching for the light. Yes, you made that in one day, but there's a lot of context to your life. What does that mean to you? What does that image mean to you?
It's similar to the is it the myth of Sisyphus? Is that where the guy's like pushing the rock up the hill?
Yes.
I feel like it's very similar to that concept that
You're
you're always striving for something greater than yourself, but you probably won't ever reach it.
striving for something greater than yourself, but you won't always reach it.
Some kind of perfection.
I was listening to a podcast the other day, and an individual was talking. He wrote a book about living in the gap, and it was a really good point. I myself feel like I'm always reaching for something. I'm always reaching for something different. And when you're always reaching for something different, you start to feel like the place where you're at right now is not enough.
Yes.
This individual called it the gap. He said you're living in the gap. So what he said was, if you are, basically the way that he described it, he was talking about there's a lot of people, like especially just across the board right now, I feel like culture, one aspect of culture is there's a lot of people who are into productivity, being as productive as you possibly can.
Yeah.
And this individual was talking about how you set goals, and what kind of changed my mindset, kind of changed my whole paradigm on setting goals, is that he was talking about setting a goal and then constantly comparing yourself to that goal. Like literally constantly comparing yourself to, say you want to write a book. You want to write a book and you have not written a book yet. And you feel like what I myself do is I say, I need to write a book. I need to perform well at work. I don't say want. I don't want to do this in 6 months. I don't want to do this in three months. I need to do this. And I thought that was right to say I need to do it, because it makes you more motivated if it's a need rather than a want. But he's like, if you're always comparing yourself to your future self, your whole life is going to be inadequate. And a quote that they used was, this is a quote from somebody else, but he said, if you can't be happy with a cup of coffee, you would never be happy on a yacht.
Yes.
So how does that relate to that image that you created? How does it relate to that image?
Does that relate to that image?
I asked a lot of people at my work what they think of that, because I got I think the original hanging at my desk. And people look at it and they ask me what it means, and I ask them, what do you think it means? And they all give me different responses.
So the question is, how does it relate to drinking a fresh cup of coffee?
No, the
or
question.
sitting on a yacht?
No, the question is, it's an image of a man reaching up for something, and obviously that something is what he wants or needs, what he's aspiring for. But the question more so is, what's going on below him? Are those people holding him down or pushing him up?
That's just the darkness, the dark characters, which could also represent the guy himself.
Like his
demons. Yeah.
Interesting.
I think, I don't know, there's lots of meanings that it could mean, but I think for me, it's like striving to be the best form of myself, like the purest form of myself, or
That's what
complete purity is the light, and you're reaching for that.
Will
and
you
the
ever
reason-
do that though?
Do I?
Will you ever reach that in your whole life? Would you ever reach complete purity?
That's a good question.
So now this individual talked about living in the gap, and this has changed my mindset. Is I start to think about things as to what I want. The way I phrased it is I think about my goals and I'm like, all right, I want this. I need to pursue what I need to pursue what I want, if that makes sense. Like out of my own well-being, I need to pursue what I want. Meaning I don't need to pursue what I need. My needs are taken care of. I need to pursue a life that I want. But if you're always pursuing something, like especially you say purity, it's a pretty grand goal.
Can be.
What is purity to you? What does that look like?
To me, it has to do with thinking about sort of like the Christian idea of sins. I think trying to live without sin is the goal.
It's a very high goal. Yeah. You think people can live without sin?
I think they can. I think it's hard though.
You think anybody lives without sin in the world?
No.
So why do you think you are able to live without sin?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I think about it.
I think it's striving to be like the Christ figure, whether that's Jesus himself or say like a Buddha or a figure like that. I think all those figures are a similar idea, but I think because from what I know, did Jesus sin? I have no idea.
I don't know. I don't
Is
know.
Is that ever talked about? I don't know.
In the Bible, whether or not he sinned.
Yeah,
I think that's the whole point. I think he did not sin.
But what was going on when he was like a kid? They never talk about that. Was he a kid?
No, I think he was just born.
He was
as a
born.
man. He was born on Christmas, and then the next day he was a man.
Could be.
Yeah. There's the Book of Thomas. It's like the book of Thomas is like the Gnostic Gospels. It's like a bunch of manuscripts that were found in Nag Hammadi or whatever. I don't know exactly how it's pronounced, but
is it the one they removed?
Yes, that's what they claim. That
I do remember it. I know what you're talking about now.
But in that, they talk about Jesus as a kid, and he's like setting people on fire. It's like using his powers to set people on fire.
Interesting.
So if that's true, doesn't sound like it's purity.
Sounds like he was even more like us than what it portrays in the story,
I thought about
that he
this.
then is truly redemption.
He's what?
He's a redeemed guy. If as a young boy he's a demon setting stuff on fire, and then when he's a full-grown adult, he is the icon of civilization for
We literally say
time.
BC and AD.
One of the icons. I guess there's many icons.
I mean, we base our time off of that individual's birth and death.
Does India base it off of that?
I think everybody does.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure they do. I'm pretty
Can
sure.
you look stuff up while we're doing this?
Yeah, of course.
Look up if BC is a universal. BC and AD are universal.
It's BC and AD universal. It's BC.
Is there any way I'm turning this off? Did I turn this off?
Oh yeah, you did turn it off. Rather than BCE and CE, AD and BC are more common. Let's see. I'm going to change it. I'm going to say, does every country use BC? Been here for a long time, longer answer. Everyone uses it. Yeah. Everyone uses it for trade and international relations. So in every country, it's 2000 right now. So it's 2021.
Does it mean before Christ, or do they have some other?
Well, they might change, but it's, I mean,
Because
that's what
people
it's
in
now.
India are probably like, what?
Well, they probably just say BC and they just don't ignore it. We're in 2021 right now, and they're like, well,
I know AD has a different term though.
after death.
Yeah, but there's like there's a different
Oh,
termage.
I don't know if,
It's interesting that just went off. Is it timed or something?
no, yeah, that's timed over there. It actually makes it look better here, though.
Yeah, I like that better now.
BCE means before Common Era. So they changed that to mean before Common Era.
That's probably.
I thought about this, though, when I was, I went through I would say I grew up very, I don't know, I would say I grew up very religious. I myself chose to get baptized. I was thinking about this the other day. Like I told my mom, I was like, I want to get baptized. I want to do this. Nobody like pushed it on me. And I was like 8 years old, 9, 10 years old. And like there's babies getting baptized and old men getting baptized. It's like, yeah, I want to get baptized. So I was very much into church and everything growing up. And then I had a turning point when I was like 15, 16, 17, 18. And I was just like, oh, well, this is absurd. Like, I mean, this is ridiculous. Like, this is so ridiculous. Why would there be a man in the sky dictating everything?
Yeah, that's how I kind of felt too.
And I started to get angry and about how ridiculous all of it was. And then after I got angry, I was like, so I got very angry about how absurd it all seemed and how nonsensical it was. Like truly like angry about it. Like I was probably legitimately angry for like a year about it. I don't know what like the epiphany was. I think the epiphany was like one day I was just like, all right, we're spinning on a rock around the universe and there's not a man in the sky. People want there to be a man in the sky because they'll feel better about themselves and about their life, but there's not a man in the sky. And I was literally sad and angry about that for like a year.
Yeah.
But then I went back the other way and I was like, all right, so we have a book in our society and the book details the best man. Hey, this is how the best man has ever lived. And so then I was like, all right, I still don't believe the man in the sky. I don't believe all of that stuff, but I do believe that there's a way to live and a way not to live. And I don't foresee any better way to live than Christ, than the image of the person in this book. I don't know if that's a real person or a fake person or just a story, but still the story reflects the most admirable man possible. So then I went there as well. And I would say for a while, I was aspiring to be Christ. Like what you're saying.
What's admirable about him?
It's admirable about Christ.
Yeah. You said he's the most admirable.
There's no character like that. Like there's no character like that. Like probably the first scene that comes to my mind is like throughout the story, like he's ministering around the world. He's living his whole life in ministering, but the whole idea of the story is that it's prophesied that he has to live. He has to give his life. Like the Old Testament prophesizes the New Testament, meaning if there really was a person, Jesus of Nazareth, Jesus, the Christ man.
Nazareth.
If there was that individual, doesn't matter if there is or not, but imagine if there is that person and you're born, like imagine that's you and you're born into this world and there's a story and everybody is just telling you, hey, this story is written about you, meaning the Old Testament. And you have to, here's the end of the story, and it ends with you dying on a cross. And you have to do it or the whole world is screwed. the whole world will suffer forever. So then he preaches and he spends his whole life preaching, but then there's a turning point where he starts to like where they start to come at him, and he is like fighting with the Pharisees and things like that. And that's when they want to crucify him. But rather than fight it, he accepts it because he knows what must happen. So that is why he's most admirable. If that makes sense. Because
Does make sense. The only thing that could be different though, and that what I've thought about before, especially now with all this like metaverse stuff going on, that whole topic.
Man, the metaverse is a crazy thing. That too has changed my paradigm on life. That has made me more think that is a question. There's some things that happen in the world and it's like a paradigm shift. And that made me realize that what Elon Musk said is true. Like a few years ago, he was like, people started talking about the simulation thing when he was like, hey, here's the reality. Humans are making simulations.
Yeah.
They're making simulations. And this is like Elon Musk talking to everybody. He's like, look at where we're going right now. If we keep doing the same thing, if we keep progressing technology, we ourselves are very clearly going to make a virtual reality, a different world where we're going to live.
Like seamlessly real.
Yes. And that, when he said that, that was kind of like a paradigm shift in the culture. Truly, I think so. Like, I think like people they were like, dang, he's right.
Yeah.
Because he was like, there's a 99% chance there's a higher likelihood that we're in a simulation compared to not being in a simulation.
That's like the whole concept of the Matrix though too. And that was a long time before he was talking about that. I think the Matrix was like 1999.
Yeah, but small things happen, and it's like you either like the Matrix is a small paradigm shift, but there's a difference between a movie happening, like a sci-fi movie, and a billionaire who's really building rockets to outer space and different cars and neuro chips and things like that, saying, "Hey, we're probably living in a simulation." And then it's another thing for the dude who is literally running a simulation thing right now, Zuckerberg, saying, "Hey, we're not Facebook anymore. You know that app that you're trying to meet people in college? We're now Meta." Have you seen Ready Player One?
I just watched that actually like last night.
You watched it last night?
Yeah.
For the first time?
Yeah, because I was like, this is too much like that movie. Because I saw the previews for it. But I guess why I brought that up is that think about if what we're living in right now is a simulation of some sorts, and God or the creative force, whatever God means, whatever that is, that entity humanized itself and put itself in the simulation that we're living in. And he came and lived a life just like all of us. And then he basically said, live like this. This is the answer to the game.
But what's the point, though? What's the point of playing the game if you know it's a game? What's the point of even playing a game? Why? What's the point of any of it if that's what's going on? Why play the game? You're like,
well, me and you.
Well, God came in and he was like, hey, if you want to win this game, here's how you win the game. It's like, dude, if we are God, why are we even playing the game?
Are we God though? Is it?
If not each human, who?
I don't know. Maybe each one of us are like a leaf on the tree of the God consciousness, and we're seeing from Jimmy Crumley's view. I'm God living from Jimmy Crumley's view in a limited way. You're God living in a limited way through Jamie Antonopoulos' eyes.
Yes.
We're all part of the God.
That's what you'd want. If you were God, that's what you'd want. I mean, we've talked about it before. Yeah, exactly. If you're omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient, if you're all of those things, the one thing that you're missing is limit.
Yeah, that's the first time I thought about that was that Alan Watts thing where he talks about dreams.
For sure.
And if you could live any dream, you would do whatever you want for a long period of time, and then you get bored, and then you start to add limits to yourself. to the point of where it would end up being like how life is now. So it's kind of like a Ouroboros cycle.
Now, but think about what I've been thinking about a lot is since the whole meta thing came out,
Yeah.
is like I've just been imagining the simulation starts at like 1960.
Why is that?
I don't know. Maybe not like that's arbitrary to say 1960, but just like a modern era time.
Because my grandpa was born in 1930, so it doesn't make sense.
It kind of could make sense.
He could just think that he was born in 1930.
Exactly. I mean, honestly, that's the whole thing about a simulation. 2013 doesn't even exist. You and I yesterday doesn't exist necessarily.
Like he's an NPC.
Or a PC. Maybe he's a main character. Maybe we're all main characters, but he, like, the game just came to fruition at 2017, and all of these things have happened in base reality. Like, so he's got memories of base reality, but they're programmed. It's like if you're playing a video game. I don't know if this is how video games work, but I think this is how video games work. Like, what you see on your screen, that's the only thing that's populated. Like, if I'm looking at you right now, there's actually nothing behind me until I look back there, and then there are things behind me. It like populates.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That's definitely how video games work.
So that'd be like how life works. Like, you yourself are programmed, so you get the memory of everything that's happening.
Yeah.
But it didn't.
That's why,
have to
like,
exist.
that's why when you're driving a car really fast in like Grand Theft Auto, you like notice in the background things start like appearing like really pixelated into really, really high definition, which that's kind of actually how it is in real life too, if you think about it, because you can't focus on everything.
That's where I heard that on Grand Theft Auto. That's what made me think about that.
Yeah, I don't know. That would be crazy if someone like my grandpa is an NPC. I don't think that that's the case. But.
Well, I mean, if that were the case, everybody would be NPC essentially. There might be one PC, one main character.
Yeah, I feel like that doesn't really make sense.
You don't think so? I think
to have NPCs. I don't know if that makes sense.
I think I don't want it to be the case, but I think it makes sense. I don't want it to be the case because I don't want to be an NPC. I don't want my family to be NPCs. And I don't think they are NPCs.
Yeah, I don't either. I feel like the way we're talking right now, I don't think we're NPCs.
I don't think we're NPCs. I don't think anybody is. But what I was thinking about is if we've created virtual reality, the reason why I said start at 1960, like if people want eternal life, that's what some people are afraid of death. And so to beat death, they just get life, eternal life. So what if you buried yourself in a bunch of simulations? You know what I mean? Like, all right, I lived this life to 1920, then I built another simulation and I jumped in that simulation. That simulation took it in 1995, lived my life all the way up to 2020, built another simulation, went to that.
Yeah.
And
while
then
you're in the simulation, you build more simulations.
Yes. And then it's just layers down. That's so many. It could be layers and layers down.
I mean, that doesn't seem it.
But I mean, that's
impossible.
I mean, it's crazy to talk about, but that's kind of what we're heading for with the whole meta thing in the Ready Player One. Like, that's what's happening in Ready
Well,
Player
we're definitely heading for what we were just talking about with the Alan Watts thing of people being able to go into a universe where they have no limits.
So in that picture, the man reaching up, he's reaching for purity. If you were to, another thing I've been thinking about quite often is in the Bible, Christ. It's very thought provoking. Like, kind of blows your mind to think about, because Christ says two contradicting things, but it actually makes a lot of sense, because he talks about, he's like, oh, you guys think I've come to this world to create peace. I've not come here to create peace. I've come here to turn brother against brother, father against son, and mother against daughter. I've come to turn the house against each other.
He says that?
Yeah.
Where does he say that?
I'll look it up. But he says that, and then later he says, "House divided amongst each other cannot stand." So I think about that in terms of like, yeah, he's saying brother against brother and father against son and things like that, but you've got all of those inside of you. Everybody's got a bunch of conflicting personalities and desires inside of them, and goals and aspirations. So you're like, well, that image means I'm going for purity. But truly, within yourself, there's multiple desires. So all of those desires have their own personality, essentially. So they would define that purity in a different way. And you're saying, like, without sin, if there was a part of you, say there was a part of you that you woke up one day and you just felt really sad and depressed, like you felt like you were not making progress in your life, and you had to write out your goals and aspirations, and you had to again, there's a part of you that's sad and depressed, and you basically have to convince yourself of the journey that you're on. And you're like, you got to define that light, and you got to convince yourself the value of pursuing that light. How would you describe the journey that you're on to yourself?
Cupcake question.
What's your journey?
How would I describe it to myself? Like what?
Like if you had to.
Are you saying?
Do you understand what I mean? The first part of what I'm saying, like contradictory desires, and there is a part of you, like truly. I mean, there's a part that maybe, like, maybe it's a Saturday night and you're hanging out with your friends and you're drinking alcohol and you start to get drunk and drink more alcohol. Then now you're building up a different part of yourself. Like, I'm not saying you're building up a different part of yourself, but you're feeding a different part of yourself. And in that part of you that's feeding, and I'll give you respect. I think you truly, I admire you. You do the journey that you're on, you've grown a ton to the point where I think you're unified internally. Does that make sense? But there still is even if it's just a seed of dread or depression or anxiety, there is a seed.
You're asking what gets me back on track when I experience those things, or what do I think about, or
kind of what you think about. But like some people get into deep, dark mental spaces, and again, you're a pretty even-keeled individual, so you never really get too high or too low. But what if one day your emotions just got out of whack and you woke up and you're like, damn, I don't want to live this day. Like, I'm tired of all of this. How would you justify the journey that you're on to yourself? Like, how would you justify the difficulty of a day of your life to yourself? Meaning the end needs to justify the means to get there. So how would you justify the difficult means to yourself?
Justifying the difficult means, probably just thinking about how I've been through hard things before, and you kind of just have to put your head down and continue to push onward.
Here's a
knowing
good way.
That to me everything's like in cycles, and you're always gonna like go from highs and lows.
Mm-hmm.
Just knowing that, continuing to pursue whatever goal it is you have, knowing that you're gonna make it back up high again. It's not gonna, the lows isn't gonna last forever. Does that make sense?
It does.
That explains it.
Here's like a way to zero in on what I'm asking. So what was your physical goal last year? You had a very physical goal, like an endurance goal. What was your
Was that
goal?
last year?
1 year
Wow,
ago.
that's
That was
crazy.
literally 1 year ago, damn near that we accomplished it.
I
Even.
almost thought that was 2 years ago. That's weird.
Did we accomplish it? I think we did it in November because we were fighting like hell to do it all from like October, September. We're like, all right, we're gonna do it 9/16,
I feel like
10/16. I think we did it in like November in the cold.
it definitely was cold.
So what was the goal?
The goal was 13.1 miles.
And how long?
Under 2 hours.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's a very specific goal.
Yeah.
So in August, you were not achieving it. In September, and I wasn't achieving it either. We were not achieving it. But why was it important for you to hit the goal first off? Why was it important?
I think, didn't we make the goal because of the marathon we ran in? We were like, dang, we could do better than that.
For sure.
I think that's where it started. And then
And
you just
that
threw out,
right there is a really good way to put it, though, of what you just said. Like to answer my question, to go back to what I was saying. That's how I feel about everything, truly. Like that is my misery in the morning of what you just said. Damn, I feel like I could do better than this.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like if nothing else, that alone will motivate the hell out of me. Damn, I feel like I can do better than this. Why do you think it sucks it does suck to be less than what you could be? Why is that so miserable? Because again, it goes back to what are we going towards? Like what is the end goal? And I ask because again, living in the gap, sometimes it feels like you never hit the goal.
Maybe the end goal is being at peace with striving towards something. You know what I mean? The way.
Do you feel like you're at
The
peace?
journey itself is the purpose. Which I know that I feel like that is conflicting, but
No, I know.
to some point, it's like what you said though about the cup of coffee.
I know for sure.
It's like being at peace, figuring out how to be at peace while striving towards what you feel is your purpose or destiny or whatever somebody would call that.
Feeling at peace, being on your destiny, your journey. Yeah, I was reading, I was listening to somebody talk about Jean-Paul Sartre.
This coat back on. It's pretty cold down here.
It's pretty cold. It's cold and dark.
You could build a fireplace down here.
I know.
That'd be awesome.
We got the fire. This is kind of, this is along the exact same lines. It's kind of crazy how the zeitgeist lines up. So I was listening to somebody talk about Jean-Paul Sartre, and he is like he's an existentialist philosopher, but I would say he's very nihilistic, or he was very nihilistic and he was trying to rectify having meaning in life without a God. And like in his, I can't remember his most popular book or like his masterpiece or whatever you call it. Like, hey, here's my philosophy brought to fruition. Here's what I believe. But basically in that book, what he said was something along the lines of, he didn't say it in one sentence, but what he was conveying was, here's the story that the person that I was listening to said. They're like, if you're out to eat with somebody, like if you're out to eat with a woman and you reach out to grab her hand, then what she needs to do is she needs to grab your hand as well, because she wants to grab your hand and hold your hand, or she needs to deny the hand. She needs to either accept the hand or deny the hand. So the only alternative is to just leave you hanging. Meaning, if she denies it, she's right. If she accepts it, she's right. If she's not deliberate and doesn't choose and just leaves it hanging, it's like, what are we doing here?
But not choosing is a choice too, you know?
No.
In a way.
I mean, yeah.
I just heard Jordan Peterson say that too.
not choosing is a choice, but what he was trying to convey is that you've got to be yourself. You have to make a choice. Like that's what we are. That's what humans are. And he was basically saying like, hey, to go back to what we were saying
Jordan
earlier.
Peterson.
No, Jean-Paul Sartre. He was saying, hey, we are choice makers. Human beings are choice makers. We are God. So if you don't make a choice, the only way that you can fail your destiny is to not make a choice in every aspect of your life. And I mean, I kind of agree with that. It's exactly like what you're saying. If you're on whatever journey you're on, own that journey.
Yeah.
Own the entirety of that journey. Don't do things by the wayside. Don't live life by the wayside.
That was nice.
That was very nice.
We have
So,
now entered the metaverse.
but I've asked a lot of people, not I've asked, but a lot of people have asked me about that drawing, and one person said that one of the leaders in my company was like, no, those people are holding him up. Those are his teammates, and they're pushing him up towards the light.
I guess it could be too.
It's like a Rorschach test or whatever, like that. How whatever you perceive is what's true.
Well, what's crazy about it is it's not like I just sat there and contemplated about like making that. It just like showed up in my brain like as an image.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the original image actually was like a like a Greek painting, ancient painting, like kind of like that picture you have of the arch or whatever that is, with all the philosophers in there.
Got two. I got the one in the arch that we saw at the
What's that
Chicago
called? That's
Museum.
probably got some kind of name.
I've got two. Got the one where they're painting of Socrates. Painting of Socrates. Cool.
But yeah, and then I was in a wood block print making class.
You're
And
talking
so I
about
was like, the time I could do it. Yeah, just like that style. That's what I was thinking of originally.
I could somehow share that. I knew how. I can share the screen. It'd be pretty cool if I could share.
I bet. Does it automatically post this to like YouTube?
Yeah, but it only posts the camera's live feed. But you can change it. But you need expert Keaton to do that.
Yeah, because that's where you'd like want to edit and put like that little block in there,
The picture itself.
like in the corner.
Yes.
But Keaton was also saying that he can like make that happen live too. Right?
Yeah, I could share it in real time. I just don't have time. I don't want to mess with it right now.
I was thinking too, it'd be cool to separate, like, re-listen to this at some point, like separate it out based on what we're talking about. Like I think
clips.
Lex Friedman does that. Not clips, but like the actual bar. If you want to like scroll through the time, it shows like what that little segment's about. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah, to go off. That's what I was thinking about. That you were talking about Alan Watts earlier.
This is done. Yeah.
Talking about Alan Watts earlier, and who do you think separate from like your friends and your family and things like that? Like talking about like public figures. Would you say that you've been? Well, first, would you say that you've been, whether negatively or positively, would you say you've been influenced by other people, like public figures? Like you just mentioned Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, for sure. Jordan Peterson, Joe Rogan.
Who would you say you've been most influenced by? Like or affected by, even you just say affected.
Like a public figure, like a known person.
Could be in the past as well. Who's the most that has affected you? or a musician?
Most affected me. I feel like a huge one, and it's. I feel like a lot of people probably agree with this. Is Joe Rogan, just because he kind of opened the door up for like critical thinking.
Mm,
You know what I mean?
yes. Did he open the door for that?
For me, I don't know. Like I just feel like I remember seeing when we were in college. I was however many years ago that was, like junior year. When I first saw that podcast, it was just like, wow, this is.
Remember the
I've never
first one
seen-
you watched?
I've never seen anything like this before.
Or the first one?
I mean, I don't know who it was or anything.
Yeah, I remember being at my first house before we lived together in Muncie and watching. It blew my mind as well.
I would have conversations with friends and things here and there where we would talk about like deep stuff, but most of the time nobody did that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was kind of like, what are you talking about, man? Like, you're crazy or you're a conspiracy theorist or whatever, you know.
I don't think it's.
Or people just like they just kind of pushed it away. They didn't want to like talk
Right.
about. They didn't want to talk about anything deeper than sports or.
Why do you think they push it away? Why do you think people push it away? Because I think there's one very specific reason people push it away. One very clear reason people push
It's
it away.
probably a similar reason to what you were just talking about. With you hit moments where you're like, man, I could be better, and people don't want to think about that. They want to be content where they're at.
That's part of it too. That's a good point. I think it's fear of death. I think the things that we've been talking about. I mean, the end of what I mean, we're talking about life. Life is two things: it's living and dying. And as we're talking, I've realized the epiphany that I had when we're talking about like religion, being religious and not being religious. There was one time I was working at Ball State and I was working on computers, fixing computers.
Mm.
I had a bunch of free time. I was walking through the campus and I was just in a building one day. And I remember maybe I had the epiphany before, like the night before this or that day, but I was like, dang, I am going to, obviously, you're going to die, but it's like, oh, I'm going to die. Like I'm actually going to die. I cannot live forever. Like not in this world. I can't live in this body forever.
Yeah.
And my friends, my family, everybody I love is going to die. And even more, I knew that. I didn't really think about it consciously because it's fearful. Fear permeates from that thought. But it's really not that scary of a thought because it gets more fearful when you start to look towards the future. You're like, dang. So what I know is that not only will I die, but that's the only thing I know. Everything dies. This
Yeah.
earth will die. The sun will die. So anything. So now again, talking about the end game, the sun's going to explode. Black holes are going to envelop our universe. So anything that I can create, anything I do, even I myself will die, and anything that I leave behind will eventually die. It's kind of.
Do you think people are actually scared of dying or like losing, say, their son? Or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is it the actual thought of like not existing, or is it that they don't want to lose this current state they're in?
It's that they don't want to lose this current state.
Yeah.
And they don't, even more though, they don't want to deal with the consequences of what death means in their life. There's my favorite quote in the Bible. This has stuck with me forever. I mean, I definitely told you this before, but teach me the brevity of life and then I will know wisdom.
Mm.
Teach me how short life is and then I'll know wisdom. If you show me how short all of this is, then I'll know how to act.
Yeah. And I totally understand why people are scared of that. I mean, like the other day I was just sitting with my dog Annie, and I was looking at her like, man, dogs don't live very long.
For
You know
sure.
what I'm saying? And they could get sick, or just like anybody.
For sure.
Anything could happen. You could get run over in a parade or whatever.
For
like
sure.
tomorrow.
For sure.
Just crazy. I don't know. It's just I don't know. It's just all brief.
I mean, that when you know the way broadly, you see the way in all things. So you zoom out and you're like, damn. Again, there is fear permeating from it. I mean, I'll be honest myself. Fear permeates from that thought for sure.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, why is that so fearful? Another part of it is it's not just death. We know two things. We truly only know two things. Things begin, they're born, and then they die, they end. And so you could probably step back and analyze your life and you're like, damn, it's not a matter of not being afraid to die. It's not just that, but that goes to all parts of your life. Now I don't want to have a conversation because I'm afraid to end the conversation. I don't want to end the conversation. I'm afraid to start watching. Afraid to start reading the story because I know the story will end. And if I like the story, I don't want it to end. I don't want to. I've had a dog in the past and the dog died. I know dogs have short life. I don't even want to get a new dog because I don't want to deal. I know it's going to be 15 years from now, probably. It could be 2 days from now.
Yeah.
But I don't want to get the dog and be sad knowing that the end has to come.
Yeah.
So, but it does. How can you? What should you do with that information? What could you do despite that? Because all of that's reality, and that's real for myself.
Despite what?
How
What could you do despite the fear?
How can you? Everything in life begins and ends. So how can you live in a day knowing the day is going to end? That the things you do in the day are going to end. That all of it's going to end. How can you live well despite that?
Well, it's kind of like you can choose not to do anything. There's a choice there.
So why
you either choose to have experiences or you don't. And you just wither away to nothing and have a miserable time here on earth.
So what do you think is admirable about Christ? What do you think is admirable about that character?
I think a big thing that's admirable is that he carried his own cross, which to me is like similar to carrying burdens.
I like yeah, I like
I don't know if that's right, but I think about that.
Well, so that character is supposed to be the one who knows everything. Like it's future, the past, present, and future is prophesized. He knows the past, present, and future. He's got full understanding. Again, that's the idea of the story. And so a character who knows the past, present, and future, he knows that this is going to begin and end, and carries the cross despite, like, with full knowing, accepts it, accepts the nakedness, accepts the vulnerability, and loves people despite that. I think that's the key.
Yeah.
I've looked at myself. I know how vulnerable I myself am. And so I know how miserable my vulnerabilities make me. So other people must be feeling the same way. So I'm going to love them. I'm going to treat them with compassion.
Yeah, it's humble.
That's what I was describing earlier. That's the acceptance. That's what I appreciate about Christ. There's really no other character. Like, you can say, you could be like, oh, I like Genghis Khan because he dominated. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Alexander the Great.
Exactly.
But it seems like that was pretty selfish motives. From what I've heard, anyways. I think I listened to who's the history guy that was a hardcore history.
Dan Carlin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's talking about that.
Sacrifice your life. That's what Christ did. Let go and sacrifice your life. It's what I like about that's why I feel like the Let It Happen by Tame Impala is so profound.
Mhm.
That's one of my favorite all-time songs because it describes what I'm saying right now. It's like, all right, I know what I know and I don't know what I don't know, and I'm very vulnerable and I'm very naked, but I'm just going to accept it and let it happen. And the music, that's what the song is saying, and the music describes like how you're supposed to live, if that makes sense. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, I've been listening to Tame Impala a lot recently. Like Apocalypse Dreams. That song's really good too.
Yeah.
Talks about this could be the day that we push through.
Yes.
He's kind of like, I think the whole song is him just trying to figure out what the hell's going on. You know what I mean?
This could be the day that we push through. Trying to figure
Everything
out
is
what's going on.
changing. And he says nothing really matters, but that's like a different segment of his thought, I think. I don't think that's what he ends with, but that's one of the verses.
So that's yeah, those people have influenced the world. So asking like you who your most influenced person is. Tame Impala has influenced me quite a bit. Alan Watts,
Yeah.
Jordan Peterson.
Yeah,
Joe Rogan.
there's lots of people. Just one though, so that's why it's hard to choose just one
Well,
to start with.
I say multiple people because all of those people that I just mentioned did what we're describing to me, even if they didn't really do it in a like explicit way, like, hey, I'm going to make this music so that Jamie Tenaglia can thrive today and make it through today. And Alan Watts, I'm going to write this book so that Jamie Tenaglia can read it and have more wisdom. But they created their things and it truly made my life better. That is what I want to do in my life. Create things that can alleviate the suffering of other people and make life better for other people. So what is your journey? The journey, where are you at in your journey right now?
Journey right now.
Yeah. Where are you at and where are you going?
Right now.
Where are you at in this circle? Where are you at in this circle? Where is the circle leading?
I feel like I'm in a constant state of improvement, and I'm able to see that. Especially like it's been easy recently because we've moved like every year to a different location, like physically, and you're able to kind of think about like when I was living with my uncle, like the kind of say art I was making or music I was making, and looking at that and then comparing it to what I'm doing now. I don't know. I just feel like for me that's kind of what the goal is. I don't always have a specific end in mind. I don't know if that's
Do you have a focal
good
point?
or bad.
Do you have a focal point that you're moving towards right now, even if it's just in the near future or in the distant future?
I feel like in my mind I have like a garden, like we talk about a lot, and I have a lot of different seeds going on, different plants going on, and some of the plants are starting to have leaves, starting to get bigger, and I don't know. That's like my mindset is growing my garden to have a bunch of plants with fruit.
Yes.
I don't even know really what that means. I don't know what the fruit would be for, or who it's for, or who it'll benefit, but I do feel like there will be fruit.
Do you have a timeline that you want fruit by?
Well, I think each plant is different. So
Here's
say, I mean, like I've talked to you about starting my own company to have a separate form of income. And I just had my first person sign a contract.
nice.
So that's pretty
Let's
cool.
go.
Pretty neat.
Moving the needle.
Music wise, it's kind of always changing because I feel like I get latched on to different like styles of music and stuff like that. So I need to kind of compile like likeness of songs to make another sort of album like I did last time. And
Let me know if this makes sense, because I'm just bringing this up because it ties in exactly to what you're saying. It may not make any sense, but I think it does. Let me know if this it does tie. It's exactly what you're saying, but it might not translate. Tell me if this does make sense. So I write in the morning every day about obviously the day ahead, and I think about I'm thinking about my own goals, my own life, and what I'm asking you right now, like what I'm going towards. And usually I think about what will you do, like literally this this whole section right here is titled "What Will You Do?" But I was kind of frustrated. I was writing the other morning. I was like, "Damn, dude! I always think about what do I want? What do I need to do today? What do I want to do? What will I do? What do? What do? What do? What will I do?" But I was like, so here's what I wrote. I was like, let's see here. I said, you can't design a day that you hate. I could recreate my days, but more importantly, I need to reconfigure my aims. I'm not aiming at a clear target. The target I'm aiming towards is so foggy that not only may I miss it, but I may inadvertently hit it, but it ends up being not at all what I want. I'm not articulating the target. Now, and then next paragraph, I said it's dynamic, so it's hard to define. When I change or the day changes, then the goal changes. When my life position changes, the goal changes. And even when my desires change, then what I want changes. This is also why I cannot aim for what I want, but instead aim for what I should do. Objectively dissect your life and figure out who you will be. Who will you be? Not who should, not who could, not who do you want to be. Who will you be? Not what will you do, but who will you be? Does that make sense? And then I wrote about like who I will be. So I put a bunch of things about who I'll be. But the reason why I say that is because you can make a goal of things you want to do. And you're telling me a bunch of things you want to do, but the goal always changes. Like literally who you are is changing. So you can be like, yeah, I want to do this in 3 months, but what I want will be different in 3 months from now.
Exactly.
So I've just got to be better. And what you're describing is the solution to what that dude was talking about, the gap. The guy talking about living in the gap. He's like, the solution is to don't compare yourself to the gap. Meaning, don't be like, damn, I'm in the gap right now of who I should be, but compare yourself to who you were yesterday. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday,
yeah,
and then see the progress.
For sure.
What do you think about that?
I agree with that. I like that.
Yeah.
I think that's going all the way back to what we were talking about earlier with if you're in a down position, if you're depressed or whatever. I feel like that's what motivates me is to be able to, in a year, look back and be like, wow, I'm making pretty good progress here.
Do you ever feel like you go backwards day to day? Like there's a day where, like,
Yeah.
damn, dude, I was damn near better yesterday than I am today. That's like the source of my misery. If I wake up one morning and I'm like, damn.
I think the voice in my head tries to tell me that, but as I grow older and more mature, I'm able to calm that better and not let it disturb me. Even though it's always there, it's just a matter of being able to tame the beast more than just letting it go crazy.
That's a good way to put it. Tame the beast, the shadow.
Yeah.
The shadow. Tame the shadow. Yeah, I mean, it's good. It is a beast. Because the other side, it is the shadow, because the other side, the other way to describe the thing that we're talking about is, well, that part of me is ambitious. And that part of me is aggressively pursuing goals. And I don't want to let go of that part of me because I respect that part of me.
Sure.
Gotta always be, you gotta set a goal and then ruthlessly let go of everything that isn't that goal.
Yeah.
Ruthlessly let go of everything that isn't that goal.
That's right. What's your vision of this podcast or this whatever this is?
My vision is, what do you think I'm trying to do? What am I trying to do? With
Trying
this?
to I think of the word here. You're trying to make ideas tangible, like an actual thing that people can go to or look back on.
Yes. I mean, honestly, to answer your question, there is so many reasons. And when I start to think about the reasons and I can describe the reasons, the question ends up being not, like, truly, the question ends up being not, why am I doing this, or what am I trying to do with this? The question becomes, why would I not do this?
Mm-hmm.
I want to externally, for other individuals, do what other people have done for me. Language has literally changed my life. People talking has changed my life. Reading what people have written has changed my life. Talking to my friends has changed my life. So I want to do that for other people. But there's more. I mean, that was what I would say 3 years ago, and that's still true. But I was trying to be like ruthlessly selfless. And again, it truly is true. Like, that is very much why I'm doing this, but also because I want to talk to my friends. So I want to create a platform where you can just come over and it's like a routine. Like, we have to do this. Like, there's literally a reason to do this. So there's another reason. And I want to do this. So there's, relative to you, relative to other people I don't even know, relative to myself even. If you sit down and talk about your life, it holds you accountable. The thing about the people that we admire, or that we just said, or at least what I most admire about them, is they seem to be like they're on the right path.
Mm-hmm.
They seem to be always growing. They seem to be always getting better. That's why it's tough. Like, I love Mac Miller.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that individual he's getting better at music, yes, throughout his life, but I don't know if he's always living better. I want to be held accountable to the way that I need to always live better, and damn near outsource the accountability a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I feel like he's such a hard thing to think about, because even though how he lived and went out, there's still purpose and meaning there, because it's almost like he showed us what not to do.
I've seen it, man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I've seen it too. I see that already. Jim Morrison, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin,
Jimi Hendrix.
Kurt Cobain.
I don't really know what happened there.
Jimi Hendrix.
That's kind of a weird one.
I mean, he was on heroin though. You can be like, oh,
Oh, I thought he was drunk. I thought he puked on his.
he was for sure on. He was. I mean,
Right, he swallowed his own pukes. Right.
I wasn't there, so I don't know for sure. Acid is not really a horrible thing, but he was soaking his headband in acid before performing, which
Yeah, like, I mean,
it's
it
kinda
definitely
crazy.
can be a bad thing.
yeah. And Jim Morrison, the lesson that Mac Miller taught, that lesson's already been. Even Elvis started it with the gluttony and overindulgence.
I'm sure that they weren't the first either.
That's what I like about Ray LaMontagne.
Yeah.
Our Burroughs.
Or Burroughs.
Yeah, just literally going into the studio. Let's make beautiful music. I don't care about.
I don't know
drama.
anything about that guy though, so I
don't know anything about
what
any
he's
of these
doing.
people.
I mean, he could be a terrible guy.
That's what I'm saying.
you
They could all
He
just
could
be
just be
terrible
making
people.
really good songs,
For sure.
or he's not even writing the songs, which I think he does better than that. Maybe not.
Have you seen A Star Is Born?
I have not seen it, but I know you're talking about.
I've actually not seen that either.
So why'd you bring that up?
But I feel like what I perceive that movie to be about. I feel like that's like Ray LaMontagne. I don't even know. I have no idea what that movie is about. I don't know what Ray LaMontagne's life's about.
I don't know. I just know that one album. I listen to that probably every time I go on a long run. It's great every time.
I've been listening to when I'm talking about purity. I feel like his music is purity though. Like when I'm in the mornings, I'll wake up and like especially if I ate healthy food the night before, I didn't eat sugar, just have a fire in my stomach, say made my own food and I'm eating healthy. Wake up feeling purity, and I'm listening to Tame Impala, or not Tame Impala, but Ray LaMontagne, because it's purity. But honestly, though, I will say though, also Mac Miller. You talked about Faces the other day. I've been listening to Faces, Ava Maria.
Yeah, I like the first song.
What's the first song?
I might just be called Intro. I have no idea, but
It might be called Faces.
I don't know. I just like the way it sounds. I like the way he says, "All my friends are philosophers." I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah.
There's so many good musical artists that I could rattle off.
Do you like Pop Smoke?
I haven't listened to much of Pop Smoke.
See, I do like Pop Smoke, but I don't feel like that's purity. I feel like that's me. When I listen to Pop Smoke, I'm indulging in darkness, essentially. So I like that music, but I don't think it's purity.
What makes it pure? Or is it something that you can't even really put your finger on? It's just like you just know it.
I've always liked rap music, and I didn't really like the music that you listen to until I started hanging out with you. But the music you listen to is different. Like I would not have listened to Tame Impala if you and Matt introduced me. And like you introduced me to a lot of people, like Mild High Club, and there's just like a lot of bands like that where it's like they're just playing music. What matters is how the music sounds. Whereas sometimes with rap, it's like I like what they're saying because it jolts my ego, and I want to indulge in that ego.
Can you hear my stomach through the microphone?
Yeah, I don't know if it was through the microphone, but I heard it.
I don't know though, because there's rap. I mean, some of Mac Miller's songs aren't about ego. They're very psychologically deep.
That's what I'm saying. That's the tough part.
Pretty poetic.
I don't like how Mac Miller died. I don't think that was necessary.
He wasn't on a good path doing drugs like that, but it's unfortunate that he got bad drugs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think he was trying to do super good drugs. So I think he was trying to do Percocet or something. I think and it was like fentanyl.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Is that they got laced with fentanyl?
I mean, if you're doing painkillers, you're playing with fire.
Yeah, and it just like his lyrics, He's like foreshadowing his life. It's
Yeah.
pretty crazy.
But I will say, I don't think it's ego. I don't think his music is ego. I don't like the way that he lived, but
Some of his music's ego.
like what? Donald Trump?
I mean, he goes down the fucking bitches stuff. He goes down that
Like what's a
path.
song? Like a song deeper in his career?
There's songs like in Faces where he's saying stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, more power to the guy, but I just don't think that's pure, like what you're saying.
I don't know.
It's not.
Context matters too. I feel like Kendrick Lamar kind of raps, he kind of raps about that a little bit too. But I think he's like the context of what he's saying and why he's saying it seems pure. Same thing with Mac Miller. Whereas I love Lil Baby, but when Lil Baby's rapping about that, I'm like, dude, he is just ruthlessly.
That guy's ruthless.
Yeah.
His energy is cool and gets you hyped, but I wouldn't imagine that he's a pure guy.
Yeah.
Not that I'm a pure guy, I'm just saying that you can kind of observe people's auras. His aura is intense,
For sure, which is a good thing.
not calm.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't know. Maybe I'm completely wrong about that. But
I don't know. I think about it. Sometimes it depends on what team you're on, because you can be a ruthless person fighting for the right team.
that's
And
very
if you're
true.
fighting for the right team, I want that ruthless person. Sometimes war exists.
No,
I want
we're in war right now.
I want soldiers on my team. I want people who are ruthless on my team.
There's absolutely a war happening right this second.
Yes. What is the war over?
Information.
Yes. The war over information.
Infowars.com.
The war over
Resetwars.com.
What is it? Reset Wars?
That's what he's like spouting off the other day. He's got some new like mind-blowing thing he keeps talking about. It's like a long-form documentary or something.
Yeah, we should just plug a bunch of that. Plug his information. Plug his stuff.
I do appreciate that guy. Pretty bombastic, but
Yeah, he's a character.
I think he's an important character.
Yeah.
He's like Paul Revere.
Yeah, there's some
He's
people.
like yelling the British are coming, and nobody's listening to him. But more and more people have started listening to him because the British are coming.
Yes.
They're knocking at the doors for sure.
It'd be tough to be that kind of guy, because if you're that kind of guy, you've got to feel like people are wanting to kill you.
No, he talks about that all the time.
I would say that's probably a real thing.
It absolutely. I mean, think about somebody brings you in a water bottle, just like while you're doing a show. You're probably like,
Oh yeah,
nah, I don't want that.
yeah. That's like just poison you right there. Yeah, it's crazy to think about. What is your goal for this week? What do you want to do this week? How could you
This
give?
week.
How could
This is
you
a big
give
week.
thanks?
Big Thanksgiving.
I was crying on the way to work today.
Really?
Yeah, not like tears, but like sometimes weird, very weird. In the morning is like purity for me. Something like a pure state of mind. This morning I was driving to the coffee shop, and actually I was driving away from the coffee shop after I'd written, and I don't know what it was. I might have been listening to a video, but I just started like tearing up. But it was kind of good. Like it was like an emotional outpour, and
Yeah, that's nice.
yeah, like it was like not tears dripping down my face, but I could feel my eyes watering.
Mm.
I was like, damn, I am. Again, it was positive. I'm like, I am over flooded with gratitude. I'm so grateful. Thank God. Yeah.
Those are good moments.
So what do you want to do this week?
This week, be present for my family.
Yes. Be present for your family. Be present for your family.
And all others too, really.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you for being
Thank you
here.
for having me.
Yes.
It's good.